first thing you do?
So as part of the start of this year's Volvo, we decided to run a test event. We called it Leg Zero, and started from Alicante, and it was a 350-mile race. And it went from Alicante, and there was a little bit of around the cans to start with, and then it was basically up over Ibiza, across to Mallorca, around the Bay of Palma, and then back past Ibiza, and then back into Alicante. Now I've just spent the last 30 hours on board Camper. Here I am on board Camper in the Kiwi entry. And what a ride it's been. We've had just about everything so far. We started off in fairly light conditions doing round the cans racing. It was a sausage and a triangular type course to start with. It took us about an hour and a half to get around that course, but in about 10 knots of breeze, something like that. But really started to show the level of crew handling that's required for these boats as they were going around the cans. We came out of that on top, as it turned out, and set off in the evening up the Spanish coast and then across towards Palma. And when we got to Ibiza, the breeze really started to kick in, and there was a little front that came through, and it was all pretty interesting in the dark. And the breeze picked up, and we cracked off as we came around Ibiza. And that was absolutely spectacular. We were doing 18 knots, power reaching, and the noise and the leaping of the boats that came out of the waves, crashing down on the other side, was unbelievable. I've sailed on these boats quite a lot in day trips, but I've never done an overnight. I tell you, it's something else overnight. One of the things that was so striking was that sitting there at the back, behind the stack of the sails, feeling the boat leaping from wave to wave, tons of water piling down through the cockpit, flushing out the back of the boat. You'd think you were sailing in 30 knots of breeze. And I stood up to have a look at the instruments on the back of the mast. 18 knots true, that's all we had. And we were doing 18 to 19 knots, with 18 knots true. I just couldn't even begin to think what it would be like in 25, 30 knots. Unbelievable machines. So later on over the night, that all calmed down a bit. We arrived in Palma in the morning, sailed around Palma Bay. It actually turned out that some really smart tactical moves overnight had taken us back into the lead, having lost it earlier on. And we were pretty well in the lead with Puma just behind us. Went around the bay. In fact, Puma got past us as we went round the bay. Then we came for the long slide home. Breeze had picked up 20-25 knots, flat water, kite up. Absolutely spectacular. And I think everybody, having spent so much time bashing up wind, was looking forward to a bit of a sleigh ride home. But it was pretty short-lived. It lasted a couple of hours, and just as our navigator Will Oxley predicted, he said the wind's going to die at about 11, and just about to the button it did. And apart from a little bit of light ghosting around, we spent most of the day drifting off the edge of Ibiza. And it's now, what is it, 8:30 in the evening, so we've been on the boat for 30 hours and we've just got going again, but we've still got 100 miles to go. The wind has picked up, and I'm hoping that the last 100 miles is going to be as good as the previous 150. I'm sure it will be. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. It's the second day. We're just a few miles from the finish now. We're just running down the Spanish coast, and breeze has picked up again. Nice fast reach coming in towards the finish, but yesterday was a tricky day. We got stuck at Ibiza. We were going around the north side of the coast, north side of the island rather, and having spent most of 2/3 of the race in the lead, unfortunately escaped us, and Sanya and Puma went through a gap in between the two islands to the south of Ibiza and slipped through and left us and Group Armour out on the north of the island, and they've now slipped away. So that's out of reach for us now. But it's been a very interesting race. There's been a number of things. You know, what have we learned? I mean, from a personal point of view, sailing on these boats, the thing that strikes you is they are absolutely relentless when it comes to handling them. I'm sure many people have read about how difficult it is. There's only 10 crew. But you've got to bear in mind, this is a 70-footer with shed loads of power, crewed by fewer people than your average 40-foot club racer. And I think it's phenomenal. I've been watching it now for the last 36 hours, and it's incredible. There isn't 20 minutes that goes by without a sail change. It's absolutely incredible. To keep that up for 9 months, something else as far as I'm concerned. But as far as the fleet is concerned, of course, this has been a very important and significant race, even though it doesn't count for anything, because it's the first time that a lot of these boats have ever lined up against any other Volvo 70. This boat in particular, Campos, never raced against another Volvo 70, neither has Telefonica, and some of the others are still in the same situation. So it's been a very important race for crews to actually line up and see how they compare. And what do we think? Well, maybe not everybody's shown all their cards yet, but what is certainly the case is that if the next 9 months is anything like this race is going to be, it's going to be one hell of a close race, because there has been all manner of lead changes just in 36 hours on 350 miles. Just imagine what that's going to be like when people really get to grips with it over 9 months around the world.
Sorry,